This is Sony Alpha 1, full-frame mirrorless camera. There you go. The design is compact and the weight is only about 1.6 pounds. Length is about 5 inches. The material feels solid and this is very well constructed. It is dust and moisture resistant. This has a comfortable and firm grip for better handling. Here is a custom button, playback button, control wheel, function button, multi-selector, AEL button, AF on button, movie button. This is the electronic viewfinder, menu, and custom button. This is the flip-out LCD monitor. This tilting monitor allows you to shoot from any position. Exposure compensation dial, rear dial, mode dial, custom buttons. This is the power, switch and shutter button. Multi-interface shoe. Drive mode dial. Tripod socket hole. And battery compartment. Here is the AF illuminator and self-timer lamp. This has a 50.1 megapixel full-frame Exmor RS image sensor. Comes with a strap, battery, charger, and instruction manual. Let's make this ready for a few demo shots. This camera has an improved menu system. With this camera, it is possible to shoot up to 30 full-frame images per second. Image quality is just outstanding and you can simply zoom in and out and pan using the touch. Loaded with features, such as BIONZ XR image processing engine and autofocus with 759 phase detection AF points, this is a great compact camera for travel and everyday use. Highly recommended.
Alpha. Brian here. Thank you for clicking. This is the Sony A1, an absolutely incredible camera that is so capable for so many different things when it comes to both photography and video. And that's something we'll talk a lot about in this particular video. My goal with this video is to help you understand the value of this camera and then to really help you understand if it's right for you. So let's start off with 50 megapixels. That's a big deal because it makes it possible that this camera can shoot 8K video. Insane, although I don't think most people really need 8K video, but at 4K it does incredible, and we'll talk more about that as we move forward. And a 50 megapixel camera means you get tons of resolution for your photos, and they're so packed with detail. This picture on the screen now is a great example. It was actually taken on my deck one Saturday afternoon and grabbed this hawk flying by. Stellar. One of the things that's so awesome is because it's 50 megapixels, you can actually throw this camera into crop mode and get even closer. Now, this is really important if you're into wildlife videography or photography. For example, I shoot with the 200 to 600 millimeter lens, and oftentimes 600 millimeters is just not enough to get close to the action. But by putting it in Super 35, also known as crop mode, I get a 1.5 times crop, getting me to 900 millimeters, absolutely insane. And furthermore, when we talk video, and this is what I really want you to think about, is if you're looking at the A1, one of the benefits is that you're really gaining a lot of the functionality of about 3 high-level Sony full-frame cameras. Number one would be the A7R series. The R stands for resolution. And again, this camera has a 50 megapixel sensor, which means you get tons of resolution. And then there's the A9, which excels when it comes to frames per second. How many pictures or frames the camera can take per second. Now the A9 I think is around 20. This is 30 frames per second with the right memory card. I use a V90 card. I get 20 frames a second, which is absolutely insane. Again, so powerful when it comes to birds in flight. And then there's the A7S III, which really excels in 2 specific areas. Number one, low light. If you want to shoot in really dark situations, the camera only has 12 megapixels, which means it can capture a lot more light. It looks fantastic in video and photos, again, in low light situations. Furthermore, because we're only really dealing with 12 megapixels, that is the perfect size for a beautiful 4K camera, and the A7S III offers a lot of functionality. 120 frames per second with sound, barely any crop, 4K 120 frames per second. You can even go up to 240 frames per second in slow motion. So it offers so much functionality in video, and you know what? The Sony A1 offers all of that functionality in one camera. Now, caveat, when it comes to the video functionality, if you are thinking low light, then you'd be better off with the A7S III. This camera cannot match it. It's got 50 megapixels, which means sharper images, great for blowing them up, creating prints. But the A7S III is really just the way to go if you want to focus on low light. This camera cannot match it, although it's not bad. Okay, now if you're into wildlife, you're using any kind of lenses like this, especially if you're into video and photography, in other words, you're hybrid, then this is the really cool thing. Again, 50 megapixel sensor, meaning you can shoot 8K, but the 4K, you can shoot 4K 60 in 10-bit color, glorious, which is fantastic. Even better, you can put the camera in Super 35 mode, which is a crop. So it crops into the sensor, leaving you with 24 megapixels, and yet you're still shooting 4K and 60 frames per second. So now all of a sudden, this lens has a reach of 900 millimeters, and you're using the lens, you're using the camera, it's not anything digital, it's incredibly crisp, and it's at 60 frames a second. Insane. Oh, and even better, that 4K is actually downsampled from like 6K, 6 or 7K. So it's actually like it takes a 7K image, squeezes it down, and sticks it in a 4K container, meaning even more detail. That's why this camera is absolutely a monster when it comes to photography and videography, especially if you're using these kinds of lenses. Furthermore, this is a great camera for astrophotography, for portraits. Really, it does anything you want it to. However, when it comes to wildlife, video and photos, insane. Hope you found this video helpful, and I'll see you on the next one.